Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. You've got a responsibility to go back to Lodabar. Your work's not done just because you made it to the palace. Oh, bless the name of the Lord. But you've got a responsibility to help somebody else make it across. Thank you, Jesus. Don't pull up the ladder because you climbed to the top. Don't blow up the bridge because you made your way across. Thank you, Jesus. But reach your hand back down the ladder and pull somebody else up out of Lodabar. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. That's the name of the Lord. Somebody got to tell themselves, it's all right if you got it now, just hold it for me. I'll be there to get it after a while. Oh, bless the name of the Lord. Thank you, Jesus. You got to make up in your mind that what God has for me, it is for me. I might not have it right now. I may not get it next week. You might try to stop me from getting it. But if God said it's mine, I want you to know after a while, I'm going to get what belongs to me. Sometimes God got to strip what you got so you don't depend on yourself. He got to take away from you so you understand how to depend on El Shaddai. Come on in here. Thank you, Jesus. Our young people are dying. Cracked out. Suicide. Homicide. They'll kill you at the drop of a dime. Our jails are full. Yet the crime still runs rampant.
All right. 90.7 WTCC. Good morning and welcome to the Spoken Word. I'm your host, Bishop Talbert Swan II. And as usual, I'll be telling it like it is through cultural idioms and nuances that shape the order, ethos, and chaos of the African-American experience. Words have their own vitality. They shape their own consciousness and create their own context for interpreting social and spiritual reality. The spoken word contains the power to reshape the landscape of society. It's 4 minutes past the hour of 9 a.m. And I want to welcome you to another remote edition of the spoken word. This time I'm remote from my office at the church. I got some things I got to do here later. So I'm here this morning and going to talk today about what happens when white America tries to silence black voices. It's happened throughout history, some on a larger scale, some on a smaller scale. Last week on a smaller scale, there was a silencing of my voice. And many of you were there to witness it when they shut down this program on Facebook. But we'll place that in a historical context. Coming up at 1:30, First Lady Swan is coming back. We're doing updates around census and voting. Very important that the deadline for the census is coming up on the 30th. So she's going to come on and talk about that. So, stay with us. Tell a friend, tell somebody, share. Do me a favor, spread the word, share this in your groups, share this to your page. Let people know that the bishop is on the air. Yes. What happened last week happened last week, but we're still on the air. We're on a different page. So let them know that we're here. We're not on the Bishop Talbert Swan page. We're broadcasting from somewhere else. So let them know we are here. And of course, we're already on live on WTCC FM. So all of those of you in the Pioneer Valley that catch us on our 4,000 watts, it's uninterrupted for you. We're really talking to our streaming audience. And so do me a favor, like, share, comment, all that kind of stuff. Welcome to our YouTubers, our Facebookers, our Periscopers, everybody who's in the house right now. We're going to come right back, and we got some good stuff to talk about. Don't you dare touch that dial. We'll be right back, okay? Don't go nowhere. Doesn't matter what form of protest we take on. They said you ought to be more like Dr. King. And I have to remind all of white America, when Dr. King locked arms and marched nonviolently, y'all put water hoses on them. You sick dogs on them. You put batons upside their head. You shot them and killed them and murdered them and lynched them in the street when we were nonviolent. How dare you tell us to go back to being nonviolent when you didn't hear us then? It really doesn't matter what form of protest we take to redress our grievances. White America is yet not willing to hear us. The president said yesterday that we hear you. He said, we hear your pleas. We support the right to non-violent protest. He's a liar, and his mama is too. Because when Colin Kaepernick and others were kneeling non-violently, this same president stood on his bully pulpit and called them thugs and called them hoodlums. And white America stood up and said they were unpatriotic. Well, if we can't kneel non-violently and protest and be heard, maybe, God help me here, they gotta loot Target and burn down police stations in order to get your attention. And wait, let me pause parenthetically right there and say unto you, I'm tired of y'all who are tripping about Target being looted, but you ain't tripping about the targets of white supremacy. Is burning from the East Coast to the West Coast, that he would get up and try to unite people, try to bring people together, try to condemn the social injustice that brought us to this point. But no, he wants to thugify black folk. When white folk came to Michigan, armed to the teeth, carrying AR-15 rifles, dressed in combat gear. Come on, somebody, carrying nooses and waving racist Confederate flags. He called them very good people and demanded that the governor of Michigan cut a deal with them and talk to them. But when black folk came to protest the unjust murder of black people, he called us thugs. Yeah, thugger
stigmatization and criminalization are all attempts at ultimately dehumanizing us. Because if we can prove that someone is less than human, then we can justify killing them. I can get killed on the street for no reason, shot in the park for playing with a toy, choked to death just because, murdered for being black in a white neighborhood, shot in my car while rushing home to get medicine for my daughter, killed in the stairway for trying to catch an elevator, gunned down in Walmart for holding a toy, all for no price, for no ransom, for no reward, just because I've been labeled as less than human. Oh my God, I'm black, I'm other, I'm not like them. My music is too loud, so I should get killed. My hair is too kinky, so I should get killed. My hair's too nappy, too dreaded. My pants are too saggy. My shoes aren't tied. I'm wearing a hoodie. I walk too fast. I look intimidating. I'm a threat, a menace, a societal scourge, a community casualty, a neighborhood nuisance. I can't win. I can't get a job. I can't get a raise. I can't get a promotion. I can't find no respect. I can't get the benefit of the doubt. I can't make ends meet. I can't wait. What do I do when I can't breathe? Saying, free Jesus. Where were the large crowds that spread cloaks and palm branches? Come on here, somebody. Where were the droves that were healed? Where were the thousands that got fed that day when they were hungry? Where were the legions of sick that were crying out to free Jesus? Where were all of these people if the crowds gathered around him wherever he went? Where were they now? And unfortunately, there's no way for us to go back in time and observe this miracle and to do a survey and ask where the crowds are right now. Oh my God. But the same question folk are asking today, where is the church? God, help me preach in here today. In the midst of a Black Lives Matter movement where black people are being extrajudiciously murdered by police, where the courts are being stacked with right-wing anti-civil rights judges that are going to change the face of laws in this nation for generations to come. Where is the church? Y'all ain't going to help me in here today. Where are we when it comes time to voting for Jesus? In 2016, in the state of Georgia, my God, Barabbas won. God, help me preach in here today. By 211,000 votes. 533,000 black people in just Atlanta didn't go out and vote. Oh, my. Where is the church? Where are black people when Barabbas is being elected? Where are we sitting in our barber shops, talking shop? Sitting in the beauty shops. Y'all ain't gonna help me preach in here now. Sitting in the beauty shops, we're talking politics. We're talking about everything we don't like. But when it comes time to deciding whether or not Barabbas should be elected, where are we, my brothers and sisters? And that's the reason why we've got cogent counts day to day. That's the reason why we're talking about cogent counts, because your voice ought to count. Can I help y'all here? Barabbas won Florida by 113,000 votes. In Miami alone, 379,000 black folk never voted. They might as well have said, crucify him. God help me preach in here today. In Michigan alone, Barabbas won by 11,000 votes. In Detroit alone, 277,000 black folk might as well have said crucify him because they didn't vote. Yeah, my brothers and sisters. In Pennsylvania alone, Barabbas won by 44,000 votes. In Philadelphia by itself, 238,000 black people never went to the polls and voted. They may as well say, give us Barabbas. God help me preach it here today. You see, according to the Bible, I got one more point to make, but I need to bring this home. According to the Bible, the reason the crowd turned on Jesus was because the chief priests and the elders in Matthew 27 and 20, also in Mark 15 and 11, the chief priests and the elders persuaded the crowd to ask for Barabbas. Let me say that again. The chief priests and the elders persuaded the crowd to ask for Barabbas. The chief priests and the elders said, we need to pick somebody who is against gay marriage. Go on and preach, Bishop. I'm preaching already. The chief priests and the elders said it doesn't matter that he flip-flopped on the topic 5 or 6 times, but that's what he's saying right now. The chief priest and the elders said, we need to pick somebody that is anti-abortion. God help me preach it here today. And even though he paid for his mistresses to have abortions and asked his mistress and soon-to-be wife to abort his own daughter, we're going to choose Barabbas anyway. The chief priest and the elders stood and persuaded the people to vote against their own best interests. Go on and preach, Bishop. I'm enjoying my own cooking right now. You see, I want to tell you, my brothers and sisters, if Jesus had healed me or my family or raised me from the dead, I wouldn't give a flying fig what the chief priest said about him. Jesus raised my son or my daughter from the dead or healed me from leprosy. I could care less what the chief priest had to say about him. Strangely, according to the Gospel of John, the crowds didn't care. They recognized that these miracles meant that Jesus was 90.7 WTCC. Welcome, everybody who is out there to another edition of the Spoken Word. Always a pleasure being with you all every Monday morning. I've been doing this for 20 years. Can y'all believe that? I've been doing this for 20 whole years. Man, I'm getting old. And y'all been listening to me for 20 years, so y'all getting old too. So don't sit up here and act like, you all that young, some of y'all are younger, but y'all know what I'm saying. So listen, I want to talk a little bit before I get First Lady on the air about a historical perspective of what happens when white America tries to silence black voices. And we'll get the phone lines open. We'll see if we can get all that popping from here. But do me a favor, share this with a friend, share it with somebody. Let them know Bishop is on the air. If they're confused this morning and they're looking for me on my Bishop Talbert Swan page on Facebook, those of you on Facebook, you YouTubers, y'all don't have to worry. Nothing changed on YouTube. Nothing changed on Periscope. Y'all good right where you have always been. It's only my Facebook audience that has to kind of go to a new spot this morning. So do me a favor, tell the folk who normally listen on that venue, tell them where I am. Let them know where I be today and where I'll be for the foreseeable future.
uh, until and unless we can get some things straightened out, with these folks that are trying to keep me quiet. It was in 1962 that Fannie Lou Hamer got fired from her job after she campaigned to encourage African Americans to vote. This is the story behind it. Many of you hear her name, but you don't really know the history around Fannie Lou. She got fired from her job after encouraging African Americans to vote. 2 years later, when she testified in the Democratic National Convention in support of the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party, specifically its efforts to further Black voter registration, President Lyndon Baines Johnson called an impromptu news conference to make it impossible for national television networks to cover her testimony live. Okay, think about it now. She is testifying before the DNC. Okay, and the president does not want this Black voice out there in the public sphere. And so he arranges to make it impossible to cover what she's saying, because he calls an impromptu news conference because he knows that every news agency is going to flock to cover the president's news conference rather than listen to what Fannie Lou Hamer has to say. It was a way to silence her Black voice. And this type of silencing has been used from generation to generation against marginalized voices. It's nothing new. It's nothing new. For decades, it basically has ensured that America never has to face a hard truth, and the hard truth is really what I've been hammering home for years, but really during this last 6 months in this COVID age, in this George Floyd age, this Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery age, is the hard truth that its foundations, the very roots of America. And I don't care how much you hear Nikki Haley and other Republican politicians tell you America is not a racist nation. Its very roots are racist. Period. You cannot get away from that. You cannot sit here and tell us that a nation founded on the genocide of Native people, built on the backs of free labor by enslaved Africans, and maintained by keeping Black and brown people on the bottom of the economic scale, so white folks can be middle class, upper class, and rich, is not racist at its roots. And so they want to say just because racism exists in America doesn't mean it's racist. Yeah, it is. That's what Fannie Lou Hamer was trying to tell us. That's what many folks have been trying to tell us. And whenever you make white America face the reality of its history, not just its history, because they want to relegate it and make it seem like it's what happened in the past, as if it's not continuing to happen in contemporary society. It's not what happened in the past. It is the very fabric of what America is even today. Okay? And they don't want to face that harsh reality. So rather than face that harsh reality, they would rather silence you. And so in modern day, you've got threats like doxing. If you talk too much about America's racist past, we're going to dox you. We're going to search into your background. I had a guy around here in Worcester Some of you all know about it. Y'all seen it. Turtle Boy, who ran and got liens that were against my property from 30 years ago, 28 years ago. And then lied and said it was money that I owed today. I mean, matter of fact, it wasn't even a lien. It was release of liens, which means it had already been paid. And so he's got these lying white supremacists online. Whenever they don't like something I say, they post this article. It's a blog by Turtle Boy. Turtle Boy News, as if it's credible. A disgraced former teacher who was fired for sexually harassing his students. But that's the best they can get on Brother Swan, is a Turtle Boy article to try to discredit you. So this is what they do. This is what they do. They try to dox you. They call your job. They try to get you fired. When white folks got upset with me because of certain public statements I made, tweets I made, they find out every place I'm associated with, and then they try to call and pressure them to do something about me. Now, the irony of this is I am a civil rights activist. I am the president of the NAACP, okay, a civil rights organization. I am the national chaplain of Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated, a predominantly African-American fraternity founded right in the midst of the civil rights struggle in 1963, after the March on Washington, after the bombing of 4 little black girls in a Birmingham church. This is the roots of the fraternity that I am. I am the assistant general secretary and a bishop in the largest black Pentecostal, or largest Pentecostal denomination in America, but a predominantly black Pentecostal denomination. And despite all of that, white supremacists think they can call these organizations and get them to fire me, get rid of me, distance themselves from me because they're mad that I talked about white supremacy. That's the arrogance of whiteness, that we don't like you N-words anyway, but I want you to fire one of your own because he's ticking us off talking about white supremacy. I mean, you want black people who are about justice, who are against what you do, to get rid of one of us because we made you mad. This is the arrogance. So they call my church, they call my denomination, they call our national headquarters in Memphis, they call the presiding bishop's office in Los Angeles, they call the Grand Polaris of our fraternity, they call the Baltimore office, the national headquarters of the NAACP. They call everybody. They want to speak to the manager right now because that Bishop Swan done pissed us off. It's all a way to try to silence you. And see, when they can't get those organizations to silence me because black folk ain't listening to y'all, then we'll go to the white organizations. We'll call WTCC because he broadcasts on there. We'll call Facebook or Twitter or Periscope or any of these organizations because his voice, he has a platform on there. We're going to get somebody to silence this guy. And I believe with my whole heart, that's what happened last week when Facebook decided they were going to unpublish my verified page. Now, the irony of that is they decided they were going to unpublish my verified page on the heels of the 4th time that I exposed a death threat from a white supremacist using their platform. Think about that for a moment. Think about it for a moment. 4 different times over the last 6 months, I received death threats in my inbox, okay? Death threats, real live death threats in my inbox on Facebook. Reported those death threats to Facebook, okay? Reported those death threats to Facebook. And guess what? Facebook did nothing about it. Now, there's no way on God's earth you can tell me that death threats do not violate your terms of service. Got to. So after being ignored by Facebook, I decided to screenshot those death threats and post them on Facebook to say, see, this is what's happening in my inbox right now. This is what Facebook is allowing to happen in my inbox right now. And lo and behold, every time I exposed what they were doing, Facebook restricted my account. Every single time. True story, y'all. True story. First, they restricted my account for 24 hours. Then they restricted my account and suspended me for 3 days. Because once again, I got another death threat, reported it. Facebook did nothing to the person. The person was still on Facebook chilling, posting, doing whatever they want, threatening to kill somebody. Facebook decided, we ain't gonna do nothing about it. Even though it clearly violated, not only did it violate their terms of service, it violated the law. Now, the irony of this is while Facebook is fiddling and doing nothing about it, the FBI is investigating it. 2 individuals who threatened me are currently under indictment, being prosecuted for it, but Facebook allowed them to stay on their platform. Okay, so second time, I screenshot, posted it on Facebook. Look, this person's threatening to kill me. Facebook is doing nothing about it. What did Facebook do? We're restricting your account, Talbert Swan, for 3 days. You're violating, and they told me I was violating their terms of service by bullying the white man who threatened to murder me. I'm the bully. This is what Facebook did. Facebook said, Bishop Swan, you're the bully for publicly exposing a white supremacist who used our platform to threaten to murder you, and we did nothing about it. But you're the bully, and you violated our terms of service, and we're going to restrict your account. So they restricted my account for 3 days. The next time it happened, same thing. I reported to Facebook. Facebook does nothing. Nothing. I screenshot it, posted it to expose them. Facebook restricted my account for 7 days. Okay? Told me I violated their terms of service against harassment and bullying. I know y'all are tripping because this just don't make no sense. I violated their terms of service for harassment and bullying by posting a screenshot of a white supremacist who used Facebook to threaten to kill me. But he didn't violate anything. This time, they restricted my account for 7 days. Notice the progression. Restricted my account for 24 hours the first time, restricted my account for 3 days the next time, restricted my account for 7 days the third time. This is all in a 6-month process. This last time, same thing. Right in my Facebook inbox, threatened to kill me. I reported to Facebook. Facebook did nothing. I screenshot it, exposed them, sent it to the FBI. FBI is investigating. Facebook fiddling, twiddling their thumbs. This time, Facebook decides, you know what? We're just going to unpublish your page altogether. Because you violated our terms of service against harassment and bullying. I'm the harasser. I'm the bully. I'm the one who's been threatened with murder 4 times in 6 months on Facebook. And their response is to restrict my account for 24 hours, restrict my account for 3 days, restrict my account for 7 days, and then unpublish my page. Because I had the audacity to expose 4 death threats by white supremacists through Facebook. This is classic silencing of black voices. It happened to the black men who took a knee at the NFL games to protest the killing of black bodies at the hands of the police force. It happens to Black Lives Matter activists who are censored by social media algorithms all the time that protect white men. It happens to women of color, representatives in our own government by other elected officials. You remember last year during the Senate Intelligence Committee hearing with Jeff Sessions, Senator Kamala Harris was the only senator to be reprimanded by her male colleagues for asking pertinent questions, like whether Jeff Sessions had any communications with the Russians. Silencing happens, all right? Whenever white people get too much of hearing the truth, when the truth hangs so painfully heavy on their shoulders that they'd rather get rid of the weight than actually face the issues head on, their response is not to deal with the issues, it's to silence you for bringing those issues up. And you have to ask the question, why would something as virtuous as truth be a burden? Because when the truth is held up, it reflects the false securities that our society rests on. The elitism, the capitalism, the racism, the ableism, the sexism, the xenophobia, the anti-blackness, and the people who benefit from those systems have a hard time letting go of their privilege within each of these realms. And to escape these truths, silencing is the answer. And I'm not trying to place myself up on a pedestal with some of our great black community leaders, but I understand the pattern. I understand why they took Farrakhan off of Facebook and off of Instagram. I understand why throughout history they have made it a habit over and over and over again that anytime someone agitates them, anytime they stir up the truth too much, that eventually they're going to move against them. And that's the only way you can explain this, sisters and brothers, the only way you can explain it. How does a man expose white supremacy and death threats against his life and the lives of his family members, and the response by the white folks who run Facebook is to silence me, unpublish my page? Now, I'm gonna tell you, since I've been complaining about it, and I haven't really done a big push because I've been so busy with other things that I haven't had time to really concentrate on it in the last week. But I know Channel 22 News did something on it. Some others have been looking into it. And since people have been calling Facebook, inquiring about it, all of a sudden they've gone and closed the accounts of the 4 men who threatened me. Now think about this. The first guy who threatened me did it way back in February, March. So 6-7 months, his account has been active. Now all of a sudden they're trying to backtrack and cover their tracks so that they can respond if the media asks, oh, well, those men's accounts have been closed. But they know good and well, none of those accounts were closed prior to last week when they unpublished my page. It's only since they've been getting inquiries about why did you shut down Bishop Swan's page that they decided to cover our tracks. We better go do something about those white supremacists that threatened to murder him, because it's not going to look good on us if their accounts are still active after we unpublished his page. The silencing of black voices. 413-337-1867. Let me get the number up here. Then I'm gonna bring First Lady on, and we're gonna talk about this voting thing. We're gonna talk about this census thing going on here. Let me get it up here. I'm working from the church this time. I wanted to be on my other computer, but it was acting up. Y'all know how Murphy's Law be messing you up. What you want to do, you can't do. That's the wrong one. There we go. There's the number 413-337-1867. What is up with that hat? Huh? Hello?
Hey, good morning.
What's up with that hat? What's up with that hat?
This is my census hat.
Oh, okay.
I'm dressed up
That's
in my
census
census hat
y'all.
because that's what we're focusing on this morning.
Okay, we're focusing on the census this morning. So she got on her census hat, y'all.
This week, we're focusing on the census, everybody. Good morning, Springfield. And everybody else that might be listening. I forget this about this technology and how far it reaches now.
It's called the World Wide Web.
Yeah, the World Wide Web. So good morning, world.
All right. So what you want to talk about this morning? What's happening?
Hey.
Well, why didn't I get a hat?
Actually,
I saw the packages
I
in the dining room, and
I do have one for you. I
well, why I
forgot to
didn't
give
get
it
one?
to you yesterday, but
I was gonna take it. I was gonna take it, but I didn't because I didn't want to hear you fussing about where's my bag at, where's this or that. But I'm wondering why I didn't get one.
No, I do have one for you. I actually want you to advertise the census as much as you can up until the deadline,
See,
September
I've been up
30th,
here
which
drinking
is
coffee and
fastly
stuff. I could
approaching.
have had one of them census bottles that I could have been drinking from had you given it to me.
Oh yeah, that too.
Mm-hmm. I saw what was in there.
That too.
Mm-hmm.
They ran out of t-shirts, but they was gonna try to get me some tomorrow. But
I saw you bit off my t-shirt.
Yeah, I kind of took one of your t-shirts.
No.
But anyway, listen, we got some important stuff to talk
Wait,
about.
we're gonna get to that. Don't try to switch up. What's the unbossed and unafraid t-shirt I saw about?
Oh no. That was made for me.
I get that, but I'm saying that I took Fannie Lou Hamer, or rather Shirley Chisholm. I took Shirley Chisholm's saying of being unbought and unbossed, and I added unafraid. And Sister Sonia made me a T-shirt with that saying on it.
Right.
Now you got one with color.
She made one for me in color. In color. Yeah.
Why you biting? Why you biting off of my T-shirt?
Well, aren't I the missus of unbought and unafraid? Aren't I the missus of that?
No, but you had to get one and try to one up me by getting yours with colors on it.
Oh no, she designed that for me. I didn't tell her to do it. She designed that for me because of my personality. I have a lot of color in my personality.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about the census.
Hi everybody. Let me say excuse me for my voice. It's a little raspy. I've been dealing with some issues, but I hope everybody can understand me. Listen, I'm dressed down in my census gear. I plan on doing it all week into next week. Everybody should know by now that the census deadline is September 30th, Wednesday, September 30th, and that's a national deadline, of course. And I'm sure that Springfield is probably a reflection of what's going on in other Black and Brown communities, Bishop, concerning the census completion. We are way behind. We are way behind our number from even 10 years ago. Everybody should know by now that the census is only taken every 10 years. So it's in that um odd and even number, that even number year. So every 10 years. And So the last time it was taken in 2010, we're way behind where we were. And although it's been a little bit of an increase, especially since the program that we had on Saturday, a few days prior to that, but we're still behind. And if we don't, we are in danger right now. Springfield is in danger, and like I said, I'm sure we're a reflection of other municipalities across the country. But we're in danger right now of losing our classification as a city if we don't at least
Get to
get those
150,000.
numbers up to. I believe it's 150,000 people, right?
Yeah,
That you need to have
we can be downgraded
150,000
to a
people at
town.
least. Right. You will be downgraded to a town. And we can't afford to do that. Listen, y'all, voter suppression and census suppression, it works hand in hand. In community, you just can't think about yourself. I know a lot of people, feel like they don't want to be bothered with not just voting, but they don't want to be bothered with things like this, with tasks like this, with their civic responsibility like this, because they feel like they're okay. But when it comes to community, you just can't think about yourself. You just can't think about your individual family. You have to think about the community as a whole. And this is the one way that we can advocate for our communities, advocate for better services, advocate for better institutions, advocate, for better facilities, and even advocate, just for an enhancement in look. Um, the census helps to determine that $675 billion, which is, of course, federal taxpaying money, how that's allocated back to our communities through the state. It's usually funneled through the state and then back to our cities and towns and neighborhoods. And I just got to keep it 100, Bishop. And I want us to talk a little bit more about this, certainly have a discussion. I love Springfield. Although I'm a transplant, I got married here. I married a native of Springfield. So I fell in love with not only my husband and his family, but I fell in love with where he was born and raised and where he is from. We've
Now don't
raised our
don't act like
children
you didn't
here.
talk about don't act
We
like you ain't talk about moving through the years at some point.
I have. Well, I'm getting to
she
that.
she
I'm getting
she
to
was
that.
trying to push me back
I'm
to
getting to
Dallas,
that.
y'all. Now she does love Springfield. I give her that, but there
Yeah,
was some times where she was trying to make me a Southerner.
yeah, but okay, but I'm kind of getting to that. Okay, I do. I love Springfield. I love what Springfield kind of brought out in me as far as like a drive for to pursue a formal education, my political awareness and involvement. There's so many things, so many good things about Springfield that I love and I'm committed to. But listen, I'm telling you, I've been here 33 years now. I've raised my family here. They've been educated in the public school systems around here. But but we must not be doing, the residents of Springfield must not be doing what we need to do to improve and enhance our city, because we have a housing crisis here. I haven't seen no improvement with that. um we have issues with our roads, with our parks, with our hospital facilities, with our schools. Some of these schools, buildings, they look condemned. They're really old. Just so much renovation that needs to be done throughout the city. We need to, take a closer look at how we are funding some of these social service agencies to help with homelessness and this, that, and the other. And all of this is supposed to be done or help to be done through filing our census. So we
Mm.
can't
Hmm.
afford not to complete our census, because we need to be able to advocate for every penny and get it back to our communities and institutions that help us through healthcare, uh, uh, daycare, education, and all of those things, housing, and all of those things. So we we need to file our census, and we also need to get politically involved enough to where we're behind the right people in our community to also advocate for us and represent us. So, Bishop, I need to have that discussion with Springfield today. I want to ask Springfield, why are we not completing our census? Do we not know how critical it is and how vital it is to our communities, our quality of life, to complete and file our census? And it's
and
really
and and,
easy. It's
and we
really
need
easy to do.
we need it done in Springfield, but we also need it done by Black people across this Commonwealth. Um,
Country.
because well across the nation, but in this Commonwealth, because it determines our seats in Congress. It determines formula for which we get aid and resources and so much. And we've got some of the same issues that you talked about: housing crisis and any number of negative status indicators that affect the Black community here are affecting Black people in uh, in Dorchester and Roxbury. It's affecting Black and brown people in Holyoke and in Brockton and in Lynn and in various places in Pittsfield across the Commonwealth. And so it's critical and it's important to fill out that census and get it done. Matter of fact, in your churches, set up a computer in the vestibule. If you've got people
Right.
coming into the sanctuary, and have somebody back there to help them do the census when they're in service, and just have it done. Get it done in whatever way possible. Make it happen. Send the link out to everybody's phone. But that's what we're going to do this week. We're going to just send the link out. Here's the census link. Click it, fill it out. It
Here's
doesn't
the
take long
census
to
link.
do.
Thank you.
Yeah, it doesn't take long to do it. But let's just get it. Let's get it done. Let me say some shout outs to a couple folks. I see Pastor Jerron Green rolling with us this morning. Good morning, my brother, my friend. Good to see you on here. I see Karen Green on here. I see some of my regular folk, Desiree Stinson. Everybody saying good morning, First Lady. Like it ain't my radio show. Like
Good morning, everybody. Do
I
I
ain't on
sound
here.
bad? I
You
feel
know,
like I sound bad, Bishop.
Juanita Beeman, good morning, First Lady. I mean, it ain't no good morning, Bishop. Kathy Swanson, oh, she looks fabulous. I mean, I'm just mincemeat. It's just my show. I only been on here for 20 years, holding it down like this. But yeah, but good morning, First Lady. She show up for 10 minutes on one show, and it's anyway, I ain't hating. I ain't hating. Good morning, Annette Culpepper. Good morning, Carlos Rivera. Good morning, everybody. Do me a favor, y'all. Share. You all know we're on a page we normally are not on, um, but
Bishop,
um,
Bishop,
but I need y'all to share
Bishop, can
so
you hear
other
me?
people know. Other people know that we're on. Here's another one of your homies.
Bishop, Bishop, I need to give the link. It's my2020census.gov.
All right.
My2020census.gov. If you haven't done it yet, do it right now. It doesn't take more than 2 or 3 minutes. And listen, if it's
Somebody type
anybody
that.
out there that's afraid to fill it out, we want you to call in the show and tell us why you're afraid to fill it out. Tell us what the
What
problems is, what the reservations are, what the apprehensions are, because
what's the link
most
again?
likely whatever your fears are, you don't need to have that fear. You don't need to have that fear. They're not asking for social security numbers. They're not asking for that vital information like that. We just need to know how many people are collecting resources or need resources here in the city of Springfield,
Give it again. What's
Massachusetts.
the link
And that's
again?
the
What's the
case
link
with
again?
it all across the board in the country. We need to be accounted for. We're one in a number, y'all. We need to be accounted for. We
What
deserve
is the
these
link?
resources.
What
That's
is the
our
link
money.
again, babe?
We
Babe?
deserve these resources.
She not listening to me. What's the link again?
My 2020 census.gov. Can you hear me, sweetheart? I don't know if it's a
Yeah,
problem
I
with
can
the
hear you
audio or
now. I
not.
can hear you now.
Okay.
My
I keep going.
2020 census.gov. All right, there we go.
My 2020 census.gov. Y'all see my hat? My 2020 census.gov. I need for, listen, in Springfield, I need for, because we live in Spring. So I want to see my community look better. I want to see the parks improved. I want to see the libraries improved. I want to see the hospitals improved. I want to see I definitely want to see the schools improved. I want the improvement in our neighborhoods, in our housing, in our homes, in social services that we deserve. That is our money. We deserve that. That is our money. We are working people and we deserve to get our money back, into our communities. Invest it into our communities, invest into our children, invest it into our quality of life. That's what I believe, Bishop.
All right, there it is. Fill out your census. All right, my
Let me
2020
give you an example. I don't know if my
census.gov.
friend Zeta is on the line. Bishop, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay. So Zeta did a little experiment with the women in the NAACP, and an example of what we are at risk of losing. So if we complete the census and we, maintain our status as a city of 150,000 under criteria of at least averages out about $2,400 per person, around $2,400 per person that we could access, and get poured back into our city, thereby also pour back into our communities and neighborhoods where we could, advocate for those monies and resources. Right now, because of the undercount, and right now because of where we are percentage wise, where we're coming, not only are we at risk or in danger of losing our classification as a city, um but we're also about at risk of maybe averaging out for about $360 per person. That is
All right.
huge. That's not even half of what we could get or what we, deserve. That's not even half of what we deserve. That's about what? 1/10 of what we deserve, a little less, well, maybe a little more than that. So about 12%, of what we deserve. So we need to complete our census, y'all. Don't make me lose my voice stressing how important it is. And like I said, census suppression, voter suppression work hand in hand. If they
All
get
of
to
that.
control all the resources, if they get to control all the money, if they get to control all the power, it would be because we didn't do our dues and also went to the polls voting.
All right, we're going to come back momentarily. We'll take your phone call. I know somebody's been trying to get in, and we are answering you, but you got to hold till I get a pause and can get you on the air. Don't hang up so quick. I will get you on the other side of this break. I've got to transition off of WTCC. We're on WTCC from 9 to 10, and then I normally continue on for another half hour or so with my online audience. It looks like y'all are on here strong enough today. Um, listen, remember, check us out on our weekly Bible study on Wednesday at 7 p.m. And you're always welcome to the Springer Hope Church of God in Christ at 11 o'clock a.m. on Sundays. And we stream live on Facebook and YouTube as well. Keep an eye out for this Thursday. We've got a forum coming out this Thursday at 8 p.m., 7:30 p.m. We'll talk about it on
7:30,
the
7:30.
flip side of this. But to my audience listening on WTCC. Always a pleasure having you on the spoken word. Thank you for hanging with me for the last 20 years. Until the next time I talk to you and you talk to me, always remember God loves you, and so do I. My online streaming audience, don't y'all go nowhere. We coming right back. All right. And we're back in the hizzy. All right. The extended edition of the spoken word. Let me put the number back up here. All right. For those who want to call in, you're welcome to do so. And while we're waiting for those calls to come in, um, talk about this Thursday. Talk about the forum this Thursday.
Okay, babe. What's the other way, since you're not using Facebook Live, for people to listen to the show?
We are on Facebook Live.
Oh, you are through the
NAACP.
NAACP.
Yes.
NAACP, Greater Springfield NAACP. Okay. Um. So you want me to talk about the forum on Thursday?
Yes.
Okay. There's a little bit of a delay. Okay.
Okay.
So on Thursday at 7:30 p.m., we will be conducting a census forum. Again, talking about the importance of completing and filing your census and what we are at risk of losing. Of course, that's what I've been talking about since I've been on the show this morning. But nevertheless, we have some of our most brilliant political minds that'll be joining us. We have state representative that'll be with us. Again, we have Jesse Letterman that'll be with us. We also have Orlando Ramos that'll be with us. We have oh Lord, I'm forgetting some people. We have did I say state rep Bud Williams? But anyway, we have about 6 or 7. Jake Oliveira, he'll be with us. We have about 6 or 7 political leaders and candidates that'll be with us to talk about how the census helps to undergird them and what they do and how they are able to also advocate, for monies and resources based on us that we provide by submitting and completing the census forms. And then, we also have a couple of ladies from the team, WIN committee, that also be providing some information. We have Rochelle, who is an enumerator for the census. And by the way, I hope it's okay that I share this. So when I say census suppression, I just want y'all to know that I'm just not talking, okay? So the the first extended deadline date because of COVID, Bishop, was October 31st for the census completion. So they
All right.
extended it. They gave us a few more months to get it completed. However, you know this, President Trump cut that deadline or shortened that deadline 30 days. Again, putting at risk millions of black and brown communities from completing and filing their census. And then also some that they have done is they have the last for some of the census workers is supposed to be technically September the 23rd. And I talked to some of them directly, and they told me that that was true. So I don't understand why census workers are being cut off before the deadline, but that's a suppression tactic. And then we also know that some of the workers, even in Springfield, was taken off the street and out of the homes uh as recent as a week or so ago, maybe even 2 weeks ago. So they haven't been collecting
All right.
anything, been given case to go out and collect. And we know that we haven't collected enough information. We know that we are being seriously undercounted. But they wasn't sending no enumerators out to collect the data and to get the information. So it's a lot of stuff going on. Of course, I'm no expert, but it's a lot of stuff going on to keep us, again, black and brown communities, poor communities especially, from
Well,
being counted, just
that
like with
that
voter suppression.
that goes that goes right into what I was talking about before I brought you on about the silencing of black voices in history. Not only silencing our voices, but discounting us altogether. And we have to realize that the only time white America has ever wanted to count us was when it would benefit them. You have to understand the history of this. When we talk about black folk being labeled as 3/5 of a human being, that was rooted in the census. Okay, because the census determined the number of seats the various states got to represent them in Congress. And so in the South, where slavery was prevalent, they said, hey, we want you to count our slaves. And they didn't want you to
Mhm.
count the slaves because they looked
They
at
were
them as
human.
human being, or that they were going to have any rights that were going to be represented by those in Congress. They only wanted them counted so we can get more seats in Congress. And so the Northerners said, no, that's not fair if we count the slaves to give you guys more seats. And so they came to a compromise that we'll count them as 3/5 of a human being and not a whole human being. And that even that 3/5 was to benefit whites in the South to give them more seats in Congress. So that whole labeling us is rooted in the census. And now, when we are able to be counted as a full human being in a manner that will benefit our own communities, we need to do all that we can to be counted, to
Mhm.
be represented. And for
Mhm.
us not to be is just another attempt to silence our voices. Silence our
Mhm.
voices, discount us, pretend we're not there, not allocate the resources to black neighborhoods, black communities, black cities, um, cities and towns that are predominantly black and Latino and brown and etc. That's what this is all about. Don't send the enumerators out to urban centers like Springfield. We already know Springfield is over 50% Latino and African American. Um, we don't really want to send resources there anyway, so we'll do a lackadaisical job of counting the folks out there. It is just another way to silence us, brothers and sisters. So listen, today is what, the 21st? 9 days that we've got
9 days.
to do this census. We can do this. We can do this in 9 days. So let's get
Well,
busy
we're
about
gonna have to. We're gonna have to. If we don't, we will feel the results of it. It may not be immediate, but we will not only see the results of it, but we will feel the results of it. We will feel the results of it. And so I hear a lot of people, I always, they might kind of be disgruntled, about the city of Springfield. You know what? And then those people tend to be the most irresponsible when it comes to being civically responsible. Those are the same people that's complaining about the community that don't file their census. And it's really easy to file your census. You don't have to. That's the difference about that and voting, is that you can use your smart devices, and I don't care what your income background is. Everybody got access to a smart device at this point.
Yeah,
So, so all you got to do is just go to the website, fill it out, put your name and address in there.
that's
Your
it. It's too
address is
simple.
really important. Where
Pretend
you
it's a
live,
raffle.
where you
Pretend it's a
live.
raffle or something. You know, that you're going to get a
Yeah,
prize because you are. You're going to bring resources back to your community. Pretend it's a raffle or something,
that's
because if it
it.
was a raffle, we wouldn't have no problem with y'all filling it out and doing what was necessary.
And like
Let
I
me get
said, you got to have a love for community. You just can't be selfish today. You just can't be okay with you being okay or your family being okay. You got to want everybody to be okay. So, like I said, every 10 years, I mean, we don't get paid every 10 years, whatever. So, but every 10 years,
But
it
these are the
lasts for 10
statistics.
years.
These are
Right.
the stats that they will be using for 10 years. Right now,
That's
all of the
projected.
official statistics that are used in terms of providing resources, this, that, and the third to our communities are based on the census that was taken back in 2010. And we know the numbers
Yeah.
have changed since then. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, caller. How are you? I mean, Bishop, how are you?
I'm good. You?
Yes, I'm good. I just had a very, very curious question. Um, the reason why I was calling is because I really admire the work that you do and so on and so forth. And I was just curious in asking, like, what's your opinion on people like Thomas Sowell and like Walter Williams and stuff like that?
Well, they are sycophantic tools of white supremacy. They are the go-to black um, academicians, because see, we got different categories in terms of coons, buck dancers, and foot shufflers. We've got the court jesters, the unsophisticated ones like a Diamond and Silk and the Hodge twins, and your Daryl Scotts and your Mark Burnses. Then you got the pseudo ones that are halfway articulate but completely uneducated on the issues, that just parrot the white supremacist talking points, i.e., your Candace Owenses and others. But then you've got the educated academicians like a Thomas Sowell, um, and these are the go-to folks that white folks point to when they want to push white supremacist talking points. They always want to use a black voice to lend them credibility. So they say stuff like, well, Bishop, you ought to listen to Thomas Sowell. You ought to listen to this one or that one. You ought to listen, um, to these various voices. And they've been serving in those capacities for a long time. They get affirmation from white communities because they are willing to talk down to black people. They are willing to lift up white supremacist talking points. They are willing to dismiss racism as a mitigating factor for the condition of black people, so that white folks will feel comfortable in saying, hey, it's just because you're lazy and shiftless and you're not doing what you need to do to succeed. And voices like Thomas Sowell, give them credence.
Yeah, and that's like the biggest problem that I had, like with I noticed about Larry Elder, Thomas Sowell, Candace Owens, is that it seems like every time when I listen to them, it's like they shift almost all the blame towards black people.
Yeah, they pretend that mitigating circumstances had nothing to do with anything. It's like if I take you and I cut off your arms and your legs, and then 10 years later I tell you that the reason why you can't enter the marathon is your own fault. It's crazy. That's exactly what those voices are saying, that 400 years, 238 years of enslavement, another 155 years of Jim Crow discrimination, oppression, brutalization, and dehumanization has nothing to do with the plight of Black America right now. And yeah, and everything that's wrong with y'all is your own fault, and stop blaming us.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like you can't take a group of people, block them for hundreds of years by creating laws and policies to stop them from getting economic opportunities to build generational wealth, and think that you can just fix the problem by just getting rid of those laws. No, you need to fix the damage that was done. You made these people poor, and thanks to these policies in place, they're living in terrible housing, their schools are underfunded, their homes are of less value, poor infrastructure. So you can't expect every single person within that group to get ahead.
And what they do is they point at, well, look at Oprah, look at Bob Johnson, look at LeBron, look at this one, and look at that one. And if they made it, if they pulled themselves up, you can do the same thing. And the only reason why you're complaining right now is because you've been too lazy to do what other successful Blacks have done. And it's a crazy talking point.
And it's crazy because when you do your research, you can find discrimination from underfunded schools, the discrimination, charging Black people higher interest rates in, banks, hiring discrimination in the justice system. It's pretty documented. It's everywhere. So for them to actually do that, it's selling out big time, in my personal opinion.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate your call. You brought out some excellent points, and really, it's something that we ought to look out for when people point to these particular voices and tell us that we ought to listen to them. Thanks for your call. 413-337-1867. Oh, your goodness. I thought you was about to have a moment right there. I thought you was about to have a hot mic moment.
I did have a moment. I almost
Huh?
did. I almost did.
You know your mic is hot.
Yeah, I know. But I keep it 100 though. I keep it real.
You was about to have a Jesse Jackson hot mic moment.
Almost. Oh my goodness. Okay. No. I mean, we got 9 days left for the census. So, we got 9 days left. And I'm talking about the next generation to come. So what we do today is going to affect our grandchildren and our grandchildren's children and so on and so forth. So it's really important that we stay focused on this census filing. Candace Owens is not important to me right now. It's just not. She's just not. She's just not on the agenda.
There is a connection. There's a connection. There's a connection. There is a connection between those sycophantic voices in the Black community that are parroting white supremacist talking points and that are giving us the same message that these white supremacists are giving us, i.e., they are telling us that there is no voter suppression that is happening. They are telling us there is no census suppression that is happening. These are all figments of our imagination. Every critique that we have of what white supremacy is trying to do to our community, to silence us, to keep us uncounted, to take resources away from us, these are the Black voices that are trying to prop up and uphold that narrative. And so it is critical that we debunk these voices and expose these voices and let folk know that these are not voices that you want to listen to, because everybody is not familiar with these folks. And some folks get duped into what they have to say.
And I think, Bishop, I think also that we got to be really careful about, you're right, everybody's not familiar. Like, I didn't know who they were, and I'm not interested, but sometimes, when we take, I'm not talking about you, But when we take a lot of time, then we introduce them. We do their job. And the reason why I think we're kind of in the position that we are is because of the miseducation and
But
misleading
but to that
information.
point,
You
but
know,
to that point, but to that point, um, yeah, I agree that we should not necessarily um, give them overexposure.
right?
But I think warning is necessary. It's kind of like with your children. We can we can ignore and not tell them about certain things, but then when they run into it, they're going to have a problem because they don't have the education. So we still need to educate them about certain things. So if they run into it, they're like, "Oh yeah, that's what mom and dad was talking about." And so when folk on this program who had never heard of Thomas Sowell, when they hear his name and see it pop up, they'll be like, "Oh, that's the dude that Bishop them was talking about that we shouldn't listen to." So there's some value in talking about.
I I,
Um,
I agree with you. I agree with you, babe. I do. I agree wholeheartedly. We just got to be careful because it's a fine line there. It's a fine line in educating and warning, as opposed to, like you said, exposing and introducing. So it's just a fine line there. But I agree. I'm not in disagreement at all. I just don't want to waste no time on the negative. I don't want to waste no time on the miseducation, and I don't want to waste any time on the misleading alternative facts that are out there, because that's our biggest obstacles in the Black and brown communities. And that's the reason why the Republicans have people like a Diamond and Silk, or whatever, because they just repeat their lies, or whatever. So like I said, I don't want to get too much into that. I really want to spend all of my energy and time with the truth and with the information that's going to empower us and help to move our communities and our families forward.
Cousin Lisa said, "Know your enemy," and Annette Culpepper said, "We traded Candace Owens for Rachel Dolezal." Okay, I think that's 6 of one, half
I
dozen of
think we
another.
know our enemy. I think we know our enemy very well. I just don't want to waste a whole lot of time on my enemies. So I want
Hank
to waste
Denton.
all. I want to give all of my time to my friends.
Good morning,
So
Hank
can
Denton.
we go
Hey,
to
listen.
my 2020 census.gov, my 2020 census.gov? And so all of my family members that's making comments about my enemies and this, that, and the other, please send everybody that you know to my 2020 census.gov today. Send out links,
So
put it on social media, put it on your social media pages, put the link up on your social media pages.
y'all
Send out
gotta
text
teach
messages, whatever
me.
you need to do to get that done.
Y'all gotta
Get that
teach
done.
me.
Get that complete.
Y'all gotta teach me, Hank. Um, I keep seeing this thing pop up. Bring them on camera. And somebody told me you can do this on Facebook Live now. I just ain't figured out how to do it. But when somebody jumps on
Somebody
watching,
showed me how to do it too, but
it says
I'm
bring
not
them
down there
on
with you.
camera. I ain't figured that out yet. I have not figured that out. But somebody gonna teach me.
Bishop, while you trying to figure it out, can I say this? Can you
You gonna
can
say
you
it
hear me,
anyway.
babe? Okay.
Go ahead. You all
I
she
love you.
always
I
said
love
she
you. I love
she
you. I love
she
you.
always
No,
says, "Can
I
I
just
say
want
this?" And she knows she gonna say it anyway. If I said no, you can't say it. What you gonna do? You gonna say it
anyway,
anyway.
I love you. I love you. I just want to remind the people of something that you said earlier, because I think it's really important that it be repeated. Listen, in 2010, we lost a representative seat.
Mm-hmm.
In Springfield, we can't afford to lose no representation. We can't afford to lose any more representation. We shouldn't have lost that seat in 2010. We shouldn't have lost, representation in the House in 2010. So we cannot afford to. This is important, y'all. Please, Springfield, my 2020 census.gov. Please, Black and Brown America, my 2020 census.gov. Please like and share this video. This thing is really on my heart. We can't afford to lose any resources. We can't afford to lose any funding. We're talking about the education of our children. We're talking about healthcare systems. We're talking about just, I mean, the beautifying of our neighborhoods. We're talking about housing. We are all experiencing a housing crisis. I was downtown the other day. I'm going back today. I was downtown the other day, and it broke my heart to see so many families sleeping on the benches in the parks.
Mm.
And Springfield is a small city. I'm from big city. That's what I forgot to get back to. Bishop said that I didn't always, that I talked about going back home. Um, it was a culture shock to move to Springfield because I'm from a big city. I'm from Dallas, and that's kind of what I'm seeing right now, and that's kind of what's depressing me about Springfield. Although I love Springfield and committed, Bishop, as you know, to Springfield, it does hurt me. It hurts me sometimes that I can't buy the kind of house that I want to have here in Springfield. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that we're lackadaisical, and we've become lackadaisical as far as like developing and improving our housing market, our communities, and representation, governmental representation, resources, enhancing, our city, and just growing and expanding. And that's what I'm used to in the big cities. They're always developing. It's always new house going up. You do have homelessness, but it's not because they don't have adequate housing and affordable housing. That's not the problem. The problem is that we don't have
So listen, I don't know if you, I
in
think
the
you.
big cities typically, at least in the big city house. And I just, yeah, huh?
No, you hit froze, but go ahead.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't know the last thing that everybody heard. I was just really just talking about the fact that that's one thing that really kind of hurts me or hurts my feelings a little bit about living in Springfield. I can't just kind of move in real estate like I would love to be able to move in my real estate, or into a better home, or or whatever, like I probably could if I moved down south into a bigger city that is more heavily funded and resourced because of their population and because of their constant development in their area. And the same thing with some of their social services, their health care, the hospitals and schools, are renovated and updated. So I would like to see that kind of stuff here. It's depressing
So,
when you go to other
so
cities and other places and you see it there, but you don't see it reflected in your city where you live and where you love, where you
Annette,
reside.
to answer your question about people's reservation, I think black people have a natural distrust of government. So,
Yeah.
and filling out the census comes with that. I mean, when you talk about the history of everything that we've been through with government, we are reluctant to give Uncle Sam, even though we know he's got info, we don't necessarily readily hand it off to him. And that's still a problem in Black America. That's still something that we have to overcome. And that's also something that the government has to admit that it created with the Tuskegee experiments and everything that they've done to Black folk. They've created this distrust that our community has with them and this reluctance to share information um, with them. And so we've got to continue to talk to our people and get them up over that hump. And yeah, Hank, I'm going to check that out on YouTube and figure that out. Babe, give them some last words about Thursday. I got 2 minutes left, and then I'm going to sign off about the forum on Thursday if they want to tune in and get involved.
Oh, I just wanted to say that I understand that there's a lot of distrust, particularly again in Black communities, concerning any kind of information that the government tries to collect. But we're not giving blood. We want to be able to access blood, though. So, in other words,
Yeah, but see,
you're
like
just
Hank
filling out
says
a
this.
form.
Hank says this.
Right, you're
We don't
filling
want
out a form.
we don't want Uncle Sam in our business. We don't trust him, and that's the mentality that we've got to get our people to
Yeah,
overcome about the census.
yeah, yeah. Exactly. So, we do. Like I said, you just want to be counted. You want to be you want your city to be able to represent, and I mean your government officials, in order to advocate for you properly. You just want to be counted. You want to be known in the number, whatever the number is. You just want them to have that power with them so that they can adequately represent you. All we asking for is a number so that you can be counted. I'm telling y'all, we've already started to feel the results of being undercounted. It's gonna get worse if we don't do what we're supposed to do. So we not only have to file our census, we also got to vote. Anyway, Thursday at 7:30, we will be having a public forum, and we'll be discussing more about how important it is to file your census.
All right, y'all. I got to move. I got to move on. Thank you, First Lady. What's for dinner?
I don't know.
Y'all
I don't
know
think I'm cooking today. I got some other stuff I got to do concerning the census.
See, she can't be all on my radio show with everybody telling her hi, acting like it's the Cynthia Swan show, and then tell me she don't know if she making dinner. It just don't work that way. That ain't right. I need to stand up and be
I'm a
counted right now.
woman and I am free.
I need to be counted right now, and dinner need to be counted too. All right, listen, everybody. I got to move out your way. I'll be on TMZ later on today at 12:30. I'll be on the African Diaspora Network on Friday. Some other things that coming in between we'll let you know about. Tell a friend, tell somebody. Facebookers, YouTubers, y'all are good. Periscopers, y'all are good. Facebookers, let them know the new page that we're broadcasting from in the meantime until we I'll be eventually broadcasting from my personal page. But they got that suspended for 30 days behind this same nonsense that they unpublished my page for. Go back, rewind the tape, listen to it from the beginning, and you'll get the whole story if you came on late. All right. Remember, Wednesday night, we got the Word on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. We've got streaming live on Sunday morning at 11 o'clock a.m. A lot of stuff happening in between time. Remember Thursday, the forum that's happening. Until the next time I talk to you and you talk to me, always remember God loves you, and so do I. Peace, fam.